that of an advisor and a counselor.
In other words, you have total authority to make the deal.
Subject only to the executive board and ratification by the players, yes.
Now it's warm and humid in the Motor City as the Royals and the Detroit Tigers get ready to do battle. And good evening once again, and welcome to Tiger Stadium. I'm Don Drysdale along with Tim McCarver. Very interesting, that one point that the commissioner said, Timmy, that he can certainly move it on to his constituents, and evidently that it could be Lee MacPhail taking the owner's side and moving on to the commissioner if there's going to be an agreement.
And it seems like over the past few weeks, different from the 1981 strike, before that strike, it seems like the sentences and all the verbiage was very, very coarse. And it seems to be a softening of the rhetoric, and this is only a continuing of the soft rhetoric that we've been hearing over the past couple of weeks.
Well, this next week will certainly be a very important week as far as Major League Baseball is concerned in 1985, but tonight there's things to do. These players are still trying to go out there and put the strike away from them. Brett Saberhagen, Dan Petrie, a good pitching matchup.
I should say so. As a matter of fact, Brett Saberhagen won his first Major League game against these Detroit Tigers.
We'll be right back here at Tiger Stadium and get ready for Dan Petrie, Brett Saberhagen, the Tigers and the Royals, right after this commercial timeout. Now back here at Tiger Stadium as the Royals and the Detroit Tigers get ready to do battle. The Royals, they have been on a roll. They have won 6 in a row. They come into tonight's game with a record of 52-44, 3 games behind California. Willie Wilson will lead it off, and he'll be in center field with Lonnie Smith batting second. Smith will be in left field. George Brett will hit third, and he will play third base. Batting fourth, the designated hitter is Hal McRae, with Dane Orge batting fifth. He'll be in right field. Batting sixth and at second base, the veteran Frank White. Batting seventh and at first base, he's been hot, Steve Balboni. Hitting eighth and doing the catching, Jim Sundberg. And batting ninth, and the shortstop is Onyx Concepcion.
And defensively for the hometown world champions, Barbaro Garbet is in left field, Chet Lemon in center, and there's Kirk Gibson. Some people think that Kirk eventually will be an MVP choice here in the American League. Few arguments there. Darrell Evans at third base, one of several starts for Darrell this year. Pat Trammell and Lou Whitaker, no one will argue, one of the best double play combinations in the American League. Dave Bergman, a slick fielding first baseman, and Lance Parrish behind the plate. Lance's first start since July 10th. So now with a bad back, and the pitcher on the mound, Dan Petrie. And we'll check Dan after we look at those dimensions. 340, 365 in the left center. 400 into deep left center, straightaway center field 440, and it's 415 into deep right center, and that overhang in right field. And Dan will try to prevent the Kansas City hitters from reaching those dimensions. Dan 11-9, a 3.48, his 23rd start of the year. He has 6 complete games. He has walked 49 and struck out 72. Dan Petrie.
The Tigers right now happy to have their big burly catcher behind the plate, Lance Parrish. He's been out with a bad lower back, but he's back. As you look at the American League Eastern standings, you see Toronto a 7-game lead over the Yankees, 8.5 over Detroit, then Boston, Baltimore, Milwaukee, and Cleveland. In the West, California 3 over Kansas City. They're gaining. Oakland 5 back. The White Sox, Seattle, Minnesota, and Texas. But right here, getting ready to go, Willie Wilson to lead it off for Kansas City. And the Royals come to town. That number by Wilson that he is wearing, that's exactly the winning streak that the Royals come into tonight's game with. 6. Wilson hitting .294, 4 home runs and 26 RBI. A switch hitter, and will hit from the left side off of the right-handed pitching of Dan Petrie. It's been warm here in the Motor City this afternoon, a warm evening tonight. And the first pitch, a little bit outside. There's your men in blue tonight. Tim Wilkie behind the plate, Jerry Neudecker at first, John Hirschbeck at second, and Steve Palermo over at third. A ball and a strike. Now, Timmy, I know going through the National League Park, you do not have a vantage point like you have here at Tiger Stadium. This is amazing.
I feel like I ought to don the equipment again. Talk about close.
You are right here. That's foul. Petrie, here comes Trammell. He's got to hurry. Lays back, throws, and they can't get him. Once he laid back, it was all over. just shows you the speed of Willie Wilson.
You had the key right there. He did lay back on that one hop. You either got to short hop that ball and throw off balance, or you don't make the play. Not with Wilson running. Man, he's had a ton of hits like that throughout his career.
Oh, he can pick him up and lay him down, and so can this man right here, Lonnie Smith, hitting .243 with a pair of home runs and 19 RBIs. You're going to have to keep an eye on Wilson. Wilson with 30 stolen bases on the year. And Dave Bergman will hold him. Petrie will try and keep him close. Wilson stolen 25 bases against the Tigers' lifetime. They've only caught him 5 times. As Smith takes a strike. But against Oakland, there's a club that he has had carte blanche against. 44 stolen bases, caught 4 times. Whitaker, he's got one eye on Wilson and one eye on Lonnie Smith as Petrie will chase him back.
Petrie has the best move among Tiger starters. He picked off 2 runners last year, and he is the only Tiger starter who picked off at least 2 base runners.
Now Wilson at first, we'll keep an eye on him. There he goes. The pitch is strike, throw through, not in time. Number 31 for Willie Wilson. Boy, he had a jump.
He had a great jump, and one of the stories coming into this game was whether Lance Parrish's back was well enough. This is his first start since July 10th. And watching him come up first, he really didn't come out to throw this ball. He comes straight up, and that back really looked like it was bothering him. Lou Whitaker made a nice play to save the ball going into center field.
Now you've got Willie Wilson at second base, and the count is 0-2 to Lonnie Smith with Brett on deck. Now Trammell moving back to his regular position. That breaking pitch down low, and the count 1-2. An amazing story about these Kansas City Royals in the 6-game winning streak. I was talking with Tracy Ringlesby, one of the writers that follows the beat with the Kansas City Royals. He said Willie Wilson only scored 1 run in that 6-game winning streak, and George Brett did not knock in any.
That's right. That's because they've been either pitching around him or walking him intentionally. He was walked 3 times intentionally by the Cleveland Indians in Saturday's ball game.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Lonnie Smith. Wilson at second. He can get a good lead. Bounce to the hole. They've got to hurry on Lonnie Smith because he can run. They get him. Alan Trammell has got an excellent arm. He throws so easy, and the ball has something on it. There's Trammell. He's been out a little bit this year with a little tender arm, but back in the lineup now. The Tigers just have not had the consistency that they had last year. Of course, when you forget about the 35-5 start. I think that's one of the big things that you have to forget about. That is a freak start. Nobody's done that. As you look at Brett, right there, second in the American League with that .351 average, 14 home runs, 63 RBIs. And George likes this ballpark. Misses low, the count 1-0.
First time these 2 teams faced this year, George Brett had 2 two-run homers off of Dan Petrie. Brett Saberhagen was the winning pitcher in that ball game.
There's the strike to Brett, and the count 1-1. Well, here's where you have first base open. You've got Hal McRae on deck, so you might think really here in the first inning. And you've got to think that way, Timmy. When you go out there and you realize, you look at that opponent that you're pitching against and know that he's been hot and he is not giving up a lot of runs, you play that first inning like it would be maybe the 7th or 8th or even 9th inning. If you're out there pitching. That's a little bit low. The count 2 balls and a strike.
Well, they're game situations. Sometimes game situations crop up in the first 3 innings. They don't necessarily have to be in the last 3 innings.
Boy, that is so true. 2-1 to Brett. Wilson at second base. Game just underway. Slight breeze blowing to right. That's fouled away, and the count goes even 2-2. There's a story. Lou Piniella managing that ball club. Billy Martin will be hospitalized for, we understand, a couple of more days. A freak accident to Billy. He was getting a shot lower back problem, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, a lung was punctured. And Billy's in the hospital. So Lou Piniella taking over as the interim manager of the New York Yankees. That foul left side, and the count remains 2 balls, 2 strikes. Of course, there was a lot of speculation that when Yogi Berra was over there, Piniella as a coach, that just kind of grooming Piniella as maybe a future manager for the New York Yankees. He was a good baseball man.
Even when Billy Martin took over, he even said that Piniella was going to be the next manager of the Yankees, and Billy Martin would be his tutor, pretty good tutor.
That's a tough way to be a tutor, the way Billy's going about it.
4 times.
Change, foul away. The count remains 2-2. And an even tougher way for Billy to give Lou his first managerial debut. 2-2. Leave it to Bill. The outfield playing Brett slightly to pull. Of course, George will tell you that this ballpark, you can hit him out in left as well as you can hit him in right. You mentioned that 325 down that right field line, a good left-hand hitter's ballpark. That's it to straightaway center. And a long way to go for Lemon. Tagging is Wilson. Lemon back, makes the catch right at the 400-foot marker. Wilson tags, goes to third, and they'll hold him right there. As Lemon got it in a hurry. Fine running catch by Chester Lemon.
Not too many center fielders in baseball can play this shallow and go back like Lemon can. This ball hit a ton into left center field right at the 400-foot mark. Lemon not only gets back under it, but he's got a chance to set himself and make a good strong throw to keep Wilson from scoring. A lot of guys would take their time getting the ball back to the infield. You don't do that with Willie Wilson.
Not with Willie Wilson, or you're down a run real quick.
Right.
Here's Hal McRae, the designated hitter, hitting .248, 9 home runs, 32 RBIs. Hal has a 6-game hitting streak. He's been hitting well. That's inside to count 1-0. Got to believe that the breeze that is blowing across from left to right might have helped Lemon in that ball a little bit. That ball could have been slicing back a little bit more, and it could have been trouble. McRae, weak swing on a breaking pitch, and the count goes even at 1-1. Upshaw and Witt have homered for Toronto. Boy, those Blue Jays are hot. 3-0 over Baltimore already.
Tigers 8.5 back, and the Yankees 7 back in second place. Just 8 days ago, the Yankees were 1.5 back at second.
Outside the count. 2 balls and a strike. Well, it was just a while back that Kansas City was about that far behind California. California went into Toronto and got swept 4 games in a row. The strike and the count goes even 2-2. The first time that the Angels have lost 4 in a row this year. And it came last weekend, over a long weekend, up in Canada. There's Willie Wilson at third. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. No score in the ball game. Got him looking. So McRae is gone. The Royals are gone. No runs on a hit, no errors, and a man left after the first half inning of play. Kansas City nothing, and the Detroit Tigers coming up.
I'm Al Trautwig in New York, checking in on the best team in baseball, the Blue Jays, who have won 8 straight. Second inning in Baltimore, Willie Upshaw takes this Mike Boddicker pitch out of Memorial Stadium. Ernie Witt, the next batter, hit one out too. It's 3-0 in the third. Now back to Don Drysdale at Tiger Stadium.
And we'll take a look at the Detroit Tiger lineup that'll face Saberhagen. Lou Whitaker will lead it off and play second base. Batting second, and the shortstop will be Alan Trammell. Hitting third in right field, Kirk Gibson. Batting fourth, back in the lineup, Lance Parrish. Hitting fifth, and at third base will be Darrell Evans. Hitting sixth, and in left field, Barbaro Garbe. Hitting seventh, the designated hitter will be Johnny Grubb. And Chet Lemon will bat eighth. He will be in center field. And Dave Bergman batting ninth, and he'll be the first baseman.
And defensively for the Kansas City Royals, Lonnie Smith, Willie Wilson, of course. Anything without a hump on it, he can run down. Dane Orge in right field. George Brett, who wants to win a Gold Glove with all his other accomplishments. And Concepcion, Onyx Concepcion. Frank White, a 6-time Gold Glover. Steve Balboni. And Jim Sundberg behind the plate. And Brett Saberhagen. 11-5 record with a 2.95 ERA. He is 4-2 lifetime against the Tigers. 3-1 last year.
Saberhagen has won 4 of his last 5 as Whitaker stands in to lead it off. First pitch hit on the left field line. Lonnie Smith moving over, has a play and makes the catch. So 1 pitch and 1 out. And that'll bring on Alan Trammell, the shortstop, hitting .266 with 8 home runs and 32 RBIs. Saberhagen was born in Chicago but raised in Southern California out in the Valley, makes his home now in Reseda.
And George Brett has nicknamed him Catfish. He said he reminds him of Catfish Hunter. That's a pretty good compliment, isn't it?
It sure is. Here's Trammell. Takes down low, the count 1-0. Saberhagen is 6'1", 160-pounder, slim right-hander. Good control. With Kurt Gibson on deck to see the numbers on Trammell. Off the end of the bat, shallow right. Here comes Orge. Plenty of room. Makes the catch. And there's 2 gone. Quickly, 3 pitches, 2 outs, and here's Kurt Gibson. Gibson has hit safely in 16 of his last 21 ball games, hitting .292, 19 home runs, 65 RBIs. Gibson, excellent speed. You see those 65 RBIs, 4th in the American League. He's behind Mattingly, Murray, and Ripken. Takes a strike, and the count is 0-1. Here's a guy that just, I love to watch him play. I'll tell you, he improved so much throughout his career as he takes a strike, and the count very quickly 0-2.
Well, the fact is, Donnie will play. He was hit on the elbow in Friday night's game in Minnesota. Rushed to the hospital for x-rays, and he said, I'm playing the next day. Nobody thought he could, but he did.
A 2-strike pitch, missing outside, and the count goes to 1-2. Now, here's the kind of guy that you've heard people say and coin the phrase that I'd pay to watch him play, and that's the way you're going to be talking about Mr. Kurt Gibson before his career is over. Got him. So very quickly, 3 up, 3 down, and the Tigers are gone. No score after 1, and we'll return to ABC's Monday Night Baseball after this message and a word from our local station. As we go to the top half of the second inning, it'll be Dane Orge to lead it off. He'll be followed by Frank White and then Steve Balboni in that order. They'll face right-hander Dan Petrie. Petrie, his 23rd start of the year, a 4-5 lifetime mark against Kansas City. Dane has been hot. Well, if you look at that .213 average, you can say, where in the world was he? Well, he was down a little bit. There's no question about that. Fastball taken high. Orge, he's had 8 hits in his last 26 at-bats, including 9 RBIs, and in those 9 RBIs, 3 of those were game-winning RBIs. That's hit to left center field. Lemon giving ground, has a play, and the baseball 1 away.
John, you mentioned the consistency of the Detroit Tigers this year. I don't think anybody on their ball club is evident of that fact other than Dan Petrie. Dan Petrie 3-8 at home and 8-1 on the road. And the Tigers, some kind of home ball club last year. He's won only 3 games while losing 8 at home.
The Tigers this year at home are just 2 over the 500 mark. They have won 24 while losing 22. They have struggled against Western Division competition this year with a 28-31 mark. As Frank White stands in, takes a strike, in the count 0-1. In the month of July, all but 3 games have been against the West, and it's really been a struggle. After the All-Star break, 4-7. Overall last year, they were 57-27 at this stage against the West. At the I'd say that's their yearly mark against the West.
30 over 500. Unbelievable.
Frank White, he's having quite a year. You're right there. He's did pretty good at Tiger Stadium this year. Frank hitting .241, 15 home runs, and 48 RBIs. Breaking pitch taken low, and the count 1-2.
15 home runs. He had 17 home runs back in '82. Of course, he's hitting in the middle of the order now. He's not hitting down 8th and 9th. He's getting a lot better pitches to look at.
The count remains at a ball and 2 strikes. Detroit, well, we mentioned against the West 28 and 31, but they have fared well against their Eastern Division counterparts, the ones that they're going to have to win or have to beat to win this thing. They're 24 and 13 against Eastern Division competition within their own division. That's fouled right side. And the count remains at a ball and 2 strikes. 2-run double by Keith Hernandez, and the Mets are still batting in the first inning, leading Montreal 2-0. If you're going to pitch to a field at Tiger Stadium, it's right straight away center field. That's hit hard. Backhanded nicely by Evans, and they throw him out. Good play by the veteran infielder.
So we're talking about Frank White staying on this ball. This is a nasty slider away. Look at the front shoulder. The shoulder opens up the hands, and he hit a rocket. And Darrell Evans made a super play. That's Darrell Evans' initial position, but he has played mostly first base throughout the course of this season.
Here's Steve Balboni hitting .257 with 18 home runs and 50 RBIs. He has a 9-game hitting streak in which he's hitting .406. There's the strike on the off-speed pitch. He's had 4 home runs and 9 RBIs during that streak and has raised his average 15 points. Hard and hooking foul down the line.
Well, when the Kansas City Royals lost Willie Aikens to the Toronto Blue Jays, they got Jorge Orta in return. They went out and got themselves a legitimate power hitter. And this young fella is a legitimate power hitter. George Orta.
Got him on the breaking pitch and a good slider, and Petrie has one. So the Royals are gone 1-2-3 in the second inning, and after 1.5 from Tiger Stadium, it's Kansas City nothing and the Detroit Tigers nothing. Well, that'll be coming your way. The PGA Golf Championship, the third and final round from Cherry Hills Country Club in Denver. Defending champion Lee Trevino. That'll be live at 3:30 Eastern. Boy, that'll be a dandy. Trevino and crew from Cherry Hills Country Club in Denver, right here on ABC. Here's Lance Perry. And good to see the big man back. Well, by that round of applause that these Tiger fans have missed him, along with his teammates, hitting .259, 12 home runs and 53 RBI. Ball and no strikes as you look at George Anderson down in the Tiger dugout. And there he is. They call him Slick. Dick Hauser, skipper and a good one of the Kansas City Royals.
He is that Slick. He is a good manager. Won 103 ball games for the Yankees in his only year there. That's all.
Well, he is. They've got 2 good managers here in this ballpark tonight. There's a strike to Parrish. And the count goes 2-1. On deck, Darrell Evans. No score, bottom half of the second inning. The Tigers and the Royals. On that outside corner, good breaking pitch by Saberhagen. He has excellent control.
I was interested in reading Parrish's comments in the Detroit News about his first at bat since July 10th on Saturday's game. Butterflies.
Over Saberhagen, charged by Concepcion. The big hop to get him. Here's Darrell Evans coming to the plate. This was yesterday. from the Metrodome. Number 300 for Darrell. Boy, I'll tell you, he is mighty thrilled with that. And the thing that makes him so happy is that ball came back in the ballpark, and he has his legitimate 300th home run. Tied for second in the American League in the home run department. Darrell hitting .244, 22 home runs, and the 52 RBIs. Takes his strike. Of course, Carlton Fisk of the White Sox leading the American League with 26. And Jimmy Presley of Seattle with 22. Evans with 22. 1 ball and 1 strike. I think Sundberg wanted that, and so did Saberhagen.
Think of the records that would go down the tubes this year if the players strike a week from tomorrow.
Oh, boy. Not only playing records, but attendance records and things like that. All kinds of things that be thrown in the bin.
Pete Rose going for 4,000. Rod Carew going for 3,000. Bieber going for 300.
Necro for 300. Takes a strike, and the count 2-2.
Don Sutton with an outside chance for 300.
Right. Saberhagen, when he came into professional ball, he had just a fastball on the curve. He didn't learn the slider until 1983, his first season in the minor league. Kind of like a slur. That's hit hard. Balboni right there. He'll go to the bag and do it himself, and very quickly 2 gone.
Talking to Gary Blaylock, the pitching coach of the Royals, and he told me when Saberhagen is getting his breaking ball over behind in the count, that's when he can shut out a team. He does not know what the middle of the plate is. Have you ever seen a young pitcher come up and have an idea about pitching like this young Saberhagen?
Oh, he's got a great one, and you could see that last year. Well, you've got two of the youngest pitchers in the major leagues, one in the American League and one in the National League. As Barbaro Garbey takes the breaking pitch for the strike, hitting .271, 5 home runs, 22 RBIs, and of course I'm talking about Dwight Gooden and Brett Saberhagen. Dropped from the side for that sidearm breaking pitch. A ball and a strike to count.
Blaylock told me that Sundberg has helped Saberhagen a great deal, too. Over 1,500 games experience behind the plate.
There's a good fastball in the count, 2-1. Well, that's one of the big things that Jim Sundberg can do so well. He can help out a staff. He wants that fastball outside. Look at him move out there. This is a little high. You can see the tailing effect of the fastball of Saberhagen. Two strikes, 2 outs. We're in the bottom of the second inning and no score. The only hit of the ball game by the Royals, an infield single by the leadoff hitter, Willie Wilson. Had him flying, a little looper to Concepcion at short. And Detroit will go very quietly in the second inning, 1-2-3. So we're through 2 from Tiger Stadium. It's the Royals nothing and the Tigers nothing. George Anderson loves baseball, and prior to the game, I asked him, is it still fun, and how long is he going to stay around?
The game is fun, Don. I tell you, even fun when things are going bad, because I think it really tests you as a person. Can you stand there? Can you hold it in? Can you take the job yourself? You know, can you get up in the morning the next day and go at it? I don't think there's any greater test in sports for you as a person to be able to walk among the other people and say, hey, I've been through the torture test and I didn't bend. Yeah, I wouldn't trade this, you know, all the good years I've had and even the bad times I've had for one moment of work. You know, to me, I never had to work a day in my life. I wouldn't trade this, and I'm not going to trade it in. I think when it gets all said and done, Don, they'll come and rip my uniform out of the locker and say, get the heck out of here. We are sick and tired of seeing you. That'll be when I go.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen, George. As Jimmy Sundberg has the count, 2 balls and a strike. At least I hope not. And so do many other people.
Certainly not soon, I'll tell you that.
Now, sir. Sundberg, Concepcion, and Wilson. That's foul back and out of play. Now the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sundberg, you see, against Petrie, has has not fared that well. Just 107, 3 hits in 28 at-bats. Petrie can be tough. Pops him up right in the middle of the infield. Evans calling. And there's one away. Well, with one out, that will bring on the shortstop, Onyx Concepcion. Concepcion, he's been having a tough year. Actually, Biancalana more or less won the job recently, but he has been put on the disabled list with back spasms. They called up Jimmy Scranton from Omaha, so Concepcion is in the lineup now. Takes a breaking pitch. Combined, Biancalana and Concepcion are hitting 173 with a pair of home runs and 16 RBIs. And that's not going to fare too well with the manager. But the Royals have still been playing well.
It's hard to believe, really. Concepcion batted .282 last year. In the second half of the season, he led all major league hitters with over 150 at-bats. Batted .370. Now, how do you fall off 100 points in July from the year before?
Well, that's amazing, and that's what Dick Howser is hoping right now, that since he's had to put him back in there, that maybe he'll regain that stroke from 1984. A 1-2 pitch foul right side. Bergman moving over, might have a play as he gets to the box seat, but that'll go back a couple of rows. Freddie Lynn has hit his 17th home run of the year. In the fourth inning, it's now Toronto 3 and Baltimore 2. Boddicker on the mound for the Orioles.
Not really pleasant memories for Concepcion facing Dan Petrie. He was plunked on the left wrist by a fastball last August 27th. Out for 27 games as a result.
Yep, almost got it again. 2-2. That's just what he said right there. Aye. 2-2 the count. For Toronto, their fine young left-hander, Jimmy Key. Facing Baltimore and Mike Boddicker. Look out, that got him. So Petrie got him again. Concepcion saying, why me?
Obviously no intent here. You're not trying to hit the number 9 hitter with one out, nobody on, and a scoreless ball game. But you got to pitch inside, and sometimes some things like that do happen. A tailing fastball came in, and Concepcion had no chance to get out of the way.
Here's Willie Wilson, and the infield single to Alan Trammell. His first time at bat. That's the only hit in the ball game. Concepcion at first. He has good speed. As Wilson takes a strike. We're talking about hitting people. Petrie hit Willie Wilson in 1980. On the right cheekbone. Petrie very upset. Sent a telegram to Willie telling him it was unintentional. Wilson with his 4 home runs this year. Now you might say with his speed, in which he has done many times in the past, thinking about inside the park home runs, but they've all gone over the wall. The off-speed pitch up high. That is a pitch right there, the change. It has got Petrie in some problems this year, and especially right here in this ballpark.
Yeah, because if you make a mistake with that changeup and that short porch out there, you make a power hitter out of a guy with mediocre power.
A ball and a strike. Blowing inside, and the count goes 2-1.
Reason for that, Don, if you're throwing hard stuff and you make a mistake with a fastball or a good hard slider, a hitter doesn't have a chance to adjust. But if you can fool him on a high changeup and he can stride, and with his hands back, he can turn that mistake into a home run if he keeps his hands back.
And, of course, especially in this ballpark, as you come in at 325 down the right field line, 340 down the left field line. That's line to left, and that's going to be a base hit. Garbey's got to get on it in a hurry. Concepcion going to go to third. He bobbles the ball and goes to third with Wilson going to second base. Now the Royals have runners at second and third, and only one out, and that will bring on Lonnie Smith.
Good base running by Concepcion. Willie Wilson will be given a double, but he was really the trail runner on that. They are going to give him a single, and second base on the throw, I say. Well, good base running. That little bobble right there sent Concepcion to third, and you're much more willing to take a chance going to third with one out than you are with none out or two out.
And, of course, that play right in front of him all the way.
Right.
And it's much easier for Concepcion there, as Lonnie Smith will be the hitter. So the single for Wilson, the second on the throw. He has the two Kansas City hits. And now Petrie in a little bit of a jam with one out. There's no score. We're in the top of the third. The count. Lonnie Smith a while back making a comment that he wanted to go back to the other league. He wasn't happy in the American League. You see the sequence signs by Parrish. Look out. That just about nailed him. A ball and a strike. Away, and the count goes a ball and two strikes. So the Royals with Concepcion at third, and you've got Willie Wilson at second. There's one out. We're in the top of the third inning. No score in the ball game.
Well, he went away with the slider, in with the fastball, and away with the slider. He's throwing here.
Now you got him 1 and 2, and Petrie has a dandy slider if he's right.
Like another heater inside.
Missing low, the count 2-2.
If you have thoughts of pitching around him, no way with Mr. Brett on deck. Not even close.
That's like someone standing there at the door of the lion's cage. You going to open it or keep it closed? 2 balls and 2 strikes to count. Concepcion can get a good lead as Evans is quite a ways behind the bag and off the line. That's foul away. So the count remains 2-2. The outfield about straight away. Garbey, Lemon, and Gibson from left to right. Your infield of Evans, Trammell, Whitaker, and Bergman from third to first. And your battery of Parrish and Petrie. Two balls and 2 strikes to Lonnie Smith with George Brett on deck. Swing on a slider, foul away, and the count remains 2-2.
Lonnie Smith, of course, originally with the Phillies. He went to the St. Louis Cardinals in that three-way trade through Cleveland. And the Cardinals could afford to give him to Kansas City or trade him to Kansas City with the coming of Vince Coleman.
Well, I guess it was the coming of Vince Coleman. He came with a bang. A 2-2 pitch. A little bit low. The count full at 3-2. So here's the man that Petrie really wants, because then it can give him the option of doing what he wants to do with Brett, with a right-handed hitting McRae following Brett. But you've got to get by Smith first. Pops him up, and he's going to get by him. Here's Gibson. Tagging Concepcion. Gibson with the catch, and they start him and then hold him right there. Now Lonnie Smith cannot do anything. There's 2 outs.
Actually, Gibson caught that ball on the wrong foot, his left foot going back, and he was just too close. Concepcion did draw the throw, but he was just too close out there. No way to challenge him with Brett and McRae coming up.
Actually, Gibson got underneath that ball a little bit. I mentioned before that the breeze is blowing to right. And it looks like when he got there, he just got underneath the ball a little bit and then had to catch it flat-footed. As George Brett will be the hitter, and they're going to walk him. They won't even mess with it.
Don, this is the 23rd intentional walk of the year for George Brett. The American League record is 33, held by Theodore Williams in 1957. Man.
Well, speaking of Ted Williams, yesterday, of course, the induction ceremonies at Cooperstown, and I had a chance to watch Ted and the statue that they made of him as you look at Dick Hauser in that Kansas City dugout. And George Anderson over in the Tiger dugout. Well, I'll tell you, that was quite a compliment to Ted Williams. They have one there, and that's a big hand, life-size carving of Babe Ruth, and now they have two, Ruth and Williams. Can't go bad with that vanilla. Here's Hal McRae, caught looking his first time at bat. Now the bases are full of Royals. Concepcion at third, Wilson at second, Brett at first. There's a line drive, base hit, left field, maybe more. Here comes Concepcion. Here comes Willie Wilson. Brett stops at second. It's 2-0 Kansas City. He hung him a slider.
So the strategy backfires. Last Tuesday, Hal McRae was inserted as the designated hitter against the right-handed pitcher for the first time in 14 months. And has he responded, batting right around .450 since the All-Star break. And since that time, the Kansas City Royals are 7-2.
Here's Dane Orge with Brett stopping at second, McRae at first, 2-0 Kansas City. Orge flying to center his first time at bat. There's a strike with a fastball in the count, 1-0. Well, George Anderson going with the percentages, but Sparky didn't anticipate the hanging slider.
No, that's right. You got to make that move. You got to put Brett on first base.
That's exactly right. Breaking pitch outside. Takes a little bit off of that breaking pitch. And the count 1-1. You're right there hitting .323 with runners in scoring position, and that's what the Royals have right here. You have Brett at second. And over at first is Hal McRae. Outside. And the count goes to 2-1. Good crowd on hand on this Monday night here at Tiger Stadium. Did not hold up on the breaking pitch, and the count goes even 2-2. The Tigers this year have been averaging 31,701. They've drawn a total home attendance of 1,458,227. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on, and 2 runs in for Kansas City. They lead it 2-0. Inside, full count 3-2, and the runners will be off with a pitch. 1983, the Tigers were 8th in American League attendance, but last year, boy, they soared. 2,700,000. An increase of almost 900,000 in the second highest total in American League history. Runners go, and they pop him up. Trammell calling. And makes the catch, and the side retired, but the Royals picked up 2 runs on a pair of hits. They lead 2, and after 2.5, it's Kansas City 2, Detroit nothing.
The balls are flying out of Memorial Stadium tonight. 2 for the Blue Jays, 2 for the Orioles. The most recent belonging to Floyd Rayford off rookie Jimmy Key of the Blue Jays. And now in the 5th inning, the score is 3-3. The Blue Jays led 3-0 at one time. Back to Don Drysdale.
And right here at Tiger Stadium, it's 2-0 Kansas City. Floyd Rayford has been red hot. And right here, the Tigers with some catching up to do as Johnny Grubb will lead it off. Grubb will be followed by Lemon and then Bergman. Grubb Grubb, the designated hitter tonight for Sparky Anderson. Hitting 170 with a home run and 9 RBIs. Takes outside in the count 1-0.
Hard to believe Saberhagen's only 3 years out of high school. It wasn't until his senior year that he decided to devote his energies to pitching.
2-0.
He was a shortstop before that time. And I would imagine a good one. Quite an athlete.
Out of play and in the booth next to us.
Thank goodness. You don't even flinch on those, do you?
Now you got
Gotta get used to it.
when you come in here a little bit, well, you get used to those. But I'll tell you one thing, you can bob and weave when they come back up through here. There's a strike, and very quickly the count 2-2. There, how close you are. And boy, I'll tell you, it is right. You can see the spin of the ball from our position right here at Tiger Stadium. It's great. I really love it.
Right on top of things.
That is line foul down the left field line. Right now, let's pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves.
Activate your sports station in the Quad City. WQAD-TV, Moline.
Carver, I'm Don Drysdale. It's 2-0 Kansas City. That's foul back and out of play. And we're in the bottom half of the third inning. The Royals scoring 2 runs in the top of the third. Three balls and 2 strikes to the leadoff hitter, Johnny Grubb. Breeze continues to blow to right. And he walks him. So the Tigers have their first base runner of the evening. Johnny Grubb with a base on balls, and that'll bring on Chet Lemon. Chet Lemon hitting .260, 4 home runs, 26 RBIs. Chet has hit safely in 5 of his last 6 ball games. Now Grubb at first, nobody out. Saberhagen, the first time tonight from a stretch. Takes low, the count 1-0.
Saberhagen retired the first 6 in a row. He had a perfect game for 7 innings earlier this year against Seattle. Now that Gorman Thomas broke it up in the 8th with a single.
Right there, 1.48 walks for 9 innings. Third best rate in the American League. There's the strike. And the count goes even 1-1.
He went on to lose that ball game, by the way, 2-1. But he will not walk anybody. He does not beat himself.
Saberhagen has won 4 of his last 5 and 9 of 11. There's strike 2 call. 1-2 the count. He has not lost since May 12th. Or I should check that. He's lost only 2 games since May 12th.
And you mentioned his last 4 out of 5. Over 40 innings in his last 5 games. He's walked 2 guys. That was his 3rd walk. That was coming into this game. While striking out 28.
Just got a piece of the breaking pitch. The count remains a ball and 2 strikes. Your runner at first is Johnny Grubb. We talked to Saberhagen, and people have asked him if he's been surprised by his success as he strikes out Chet Lemon. So there's 1 gone, and that'll bring on Dave Bergman. And Saberhagen tells him just flat no. He says he's not cocky. He said he's always played on winning teams and has an attitude of always expecting to win.
And a good fastball right on the outside part, not on the corner. A good tailing fastball. Good trusted that late movement of Saberhagen.
He's got good movement on the fastball. There's Dave Bergman. You see 178, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. That's hit. Valboni, what a play, and now they're going to get driven a run down. He goes to the shortstop, Concepcion. Back to Saberhagen, makes the tag, and the side is retired. Well, the Tigers are retired in the third inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and they leave nobody. And we're through 3 from Tiger Stadium, 2-0.